How you doing? How you doing, Judy? Good to see you all. Welcome to the FiveStack. My name is Dean Blundell. Hi, it's Andon, Amit, Puppet George. Hi, how are you? That is Zev Shalev, narrative.org, his Substack. I am Dean Blundell, deanblundell.substack.com. It dawned on me as we get ready to launch into the FiveStack, the five biggest stories democracy lovers in Canada and America need to know today. It dawned on me that we're just a couple of guys that started a podcast because we know each other and we're sticking up for democracy. We're trying to fire pump, real news, facts, information to beat back the fascist authoritarian creep in the United States because the United States information ecosystem has been effectively kettled unless you're on Substack. And so, it dawned on me yesterday that nobody has any idea who I am.
What do you mean no one knows who you are? Everybody knows who you are. You mean like who you really are?
Yeah, well, who we are, why we're here, why we're doing this, And,
yeah, it's true.
And like, we just kind of deliver the content. You should be able to figure out our values, that they align with your values. We love democracy. We love humanity. We love people. We love courage. We love sticking up for the marginalized. It's who we are. It's what we do. We're Canadian. I'm Canadian. Zeb spent a lot of time in the United States working, but he is also Canadian, but his content is largely American-centric. And so what I wanted to do is just really quick before we get into the FiveStack today, just tell everybody that we're basically this like voice of America in Canada that continues to fact check and bring you the real as much as we can so that you can arm yourself with information to be able to fight back against what Donald Trump has tried to do to our beautiful neighbor. It's why we love you. And so, it's incumbent upon me to talk about one thing, and it was an interview that I saw with Adam Kinzinger and a gentleman from this group called Leaving MAGA. And it was a fascinating, 15, 20-minute conversation. Encourage everybody to go check out Adam Kinzinger's interview with this gentleman. I can't remember his name. I did email him. He did not get back to me, but I'm trying to get a hold of him because he would be an incredible interview for this very purpose. Is that he started to understand that MAGA was a death cult when he started to pivot where he got his information from. And he started to trust a couple of very small, very, very easy to understand voices that were delivering the truth that he could fact check in real time. And he's like, oh my God, I believe a lie. And so now he runs his organization that tries to de-radicalize and decultify, if that's even a word,
Yes.
other people in MAGA. And the only reason he says, the biggest impetus for this whole thing was that I opened up my view of the information that I get. I changed my sourcing. And I started to realize that I had been fed such a load of bullshit. And we'll get into a lot of that today, whether it's the Epstein tapes, whether it's the tariff letters, no matter what, whether it's the ICE raids that are going on in MacArthur Park. There are people that are cheering for this, that are like that gentleman that has left the cult. And the reason why he doesn't leave the cult, and if you want other people that and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are, hi Pamela, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are watching this that have maggots in their lives, people who have, and this gentleman was a nice man, and I thought to myself, I bet you there's some really nice people that are just refuse to get information from anywhere else. So you can gift subscriptions here. You can literally gift a subscription. You can not only help us grow to reach more people, but you can give subscriptions to this channel, other channels you trust, information that you can actually factual verify, and content that helps you and keeps you informed from a satellite organization, Voice of America in Canada, us, people like us, that are trying to feed the truth and facts so that you can actually go and live your life in confidence and fight back against the tyranny of Donald Trump. So that's my suggestion. No worries. Hi, Crimea River. What a great handle, by the way. And I think it's really important because that's what we're doing here. Yes, we're interested in the content. Lev does long form dot connecting series on the crypto bros, on Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, on the PayPal mafia. So he gets right underneath it and provides all the context. Whereas someone like me likes to do some breaking news stuff. I just covered the insane Trump presser, which we're going to get to. I think it's right there in the number one or two stories of the day. Because we want you to be informed about the context underneath and everything that's going on top. So my goal and our goal is always been, if we're going to do this content, it's what we said when we started this podcast, it's got to make a difference. It's got to offer value to people's hearts, minds, and souls. So we're really glad you're here. We've got 5 stories to get to. Please subscribe, free or paid, doesn't matter. I've got 35% off for the month of July as well, because I'm good like that. And Zev is an incredible follow. You'll never be more informed. But more importantly, just hang out with us. Like I said, I don't care who you are or where you're from. If you've been kettled by the American disinformation machine, this is one of the biggest reasons why we're here.
That is so nicely said. And thank you, Dean, for what a great start to the show. The FiveStack is on. We are counting down the top 5 stories of the day. And we're beginning with that first public appearance by Donald Trump in that cabinet meeting today. Since the Epstein document scandal exploded, it was, in your words, a complete train wreck. When asked about the client list, he snapped with a red-faced meltdown, shouting, "Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? I can't believe you're asking about this creep. It just seems like a desecration." Well, yep, It is probably a desecration, but that's because he's in the office. Meanwhile, Pam Bondi attempts to explain the missing CCTV footage, and there's a whole lot of stuff. It's brilliantly captured in your Substack. I love this press conference. I was laughing all the way through it. It is so ridiculous how obsequious everyone is, and thank you, dear leader. Thank you, dear leader. You've been the greatest.
The Mike Lee blowjob
ever.
was like he was almost. I think Trump was almost embarrassed too. If it wasn't for you, the world would be dead.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Like, and then we'll get to that later on. But so there's so much in this Epstein thing alone. But there's other things that happened at this cabinet meeting today, televised live. What was your take?
My take is it was just this unhinged, low energy, dementia, mumbling, stammering press conference where he as guilty as I have ever seen anybody act. Like, it was not only off the rails, it was not only, like, you talk about the weave, it was incoherent.
Yeah.
He looked sick. He is unwell. He is angry. He is scared to fucking death.
Yeah.
And
he
what
looked
I
really
saw,
weird today. He had that look on his face like, I've done something really, really bad and I just got caught, but I'm going to sit here. And everyone around him looked really depressed.
They
like,
were
I didn't
so
see a
fucking scared too.
Yeah, like I didn't see a single smiling face until they had to speak. But Marco Rubio looked like he was just agitated.
He looked like a hostage.
Yeah,
Pete Hegseth looks like a hostage.
He really does. I was like, wow, this is not a very happy press conference. This is not one of these like confident strongman press conference. It's like, oh, I'm really embarrassed. I can't believe that happened.
Well,
I
his body language
and stuff, but
dude, it was the first press conference, first availability where reporters are going to challenge him, and I do give him a very, very minuscule amount of credit because in certain political circuses that'll never happen. Like Donald Trump would never open himself up for that kind of line of question, but he knew it was coming because the day before, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, who literally made a living off of talking about how they can't wait for Trump to relieve the Epstein list before they actually became part of Trump's cabinet, all announced that there was no Epstein list anymore. All good. Case closed. He committed suicide. Now, MAGA is losing their fucking minds. I've got a couple articles that not only details this press conference, but the fractures in MAGA that are forming. And everybody watching this should be incredibly encouraged by it. And I'll get to that in just a second into why. But what I saw was Donald Trump hunched over, body language terrible. Like, absolutely terrible. When he's caught and he's got to do something, he doesn't have his chest out like he used to. He's got his head down and he's doing some of this. And
he gets that voice. He gets that weak voice that he does. Tries to be nice, fake nice, but he tries it.
Yeah. He tries to paint himself like a victim under attack with his body language and his tone. He's actually a master at it. And what proceeded to happen over the next 30 odd minutes was not just a low-energy, dementia, incoherent meltdown. Not only did he have to turn to Pete Hegseth at one point and go, "What do you know what they're talking about?" Like, I'm not kidding you. This actually happened. Which, if you want a sign of cognitive decline, if you want to go and watch something, I want you to go to deanblundell.substack.com. I've curated almost every clip there. It is absolutely and truly magnificent to see him guilty as fuck. Low energy as you've never seen him before, slurring, incoherent, angry. And the best part about this press conference, and there was a lot in there, it was when he chastised the reporter asking about the Epstein list,
Yeah.
and he said, "We're not talking about this. You're a creep. No
Yeah.
one's talking about this anymore. Leave it alone. It's a desecration." And then he's like, "Unless you want to answer it, Pam." She goes, "Yeah, I'll answer the question." And then Pam proceeded to shit her pants on top of it, where her voice was shaking. She was like, well, the CCTV, because there's a minute missing from the CCTV tape outside of Jeffrey Epstein's room from 11:58 to 12:02. There's nothing. There's nothing.
Right.
It's just and I've posted that as well. You can actually look at it. And they asked her about. She goes, "Oh, it just happens all the time, every year since 1999." Next question. Like it
Well, she
was
said
guilt on
she was,
display. It
yeah.
was fucking awesome to watch.
I wanted to underline two things that was important there. In the Ukraine thing, when Pete Hegseth was asked, what's he talking about? He was asking about aid to Ukraine, which is just like that
Well, he was
Donald Trump
asking
had
about aid to
apparently pulled.
Ukraine. Let me just clarify
Yeah.
that real quick. Aid to
Yeah.
Ukraine, but he was also asking about the fact that Zelensky put a word in with NATO and the ICC. Apparently, Russia's now using chemical weapons in Ukraine because they're running out of
Oh,
munitions. And so
okay.
a reporter asked him about that because Zelensky mentioned it yesterday, and he looked at Pete Hegseth like, "What the fuck are they talking about?" He goes, "You know what they're talking about, Pete?" Pete's like, "I don't know, not really. Just tell him to ask John." So he's like, "I don't know, John, do you want to say something about it?" I had no idea what was going
This
on.
is
He
in front of the
completely
world
drew a
media.
fucking blank in front
Wow.
of the world media. Yeah, yeah.
Incredible. But the Epstein stuff as well is fascinating because Bondi, firstly, she says a couple of things that were really interesting. She said that there are videotapes, but they're all child porn, so she's not going to release them to anybody. Well, of course they're child porn. I mean, what do you think they are? They're evidence of, Epstein having, whatever relations with underage girls with other people. That's
And
the
not just
whole.
Epstein.
Yeah, and not just Epstein. And that's
No.
why they won't release it, because who knows who's on those tapes. This notion of a client list has been floated around for years. I've been investigating Jeffrey Epstein very, very exhaustively since 2019. There isn't a client list. That didn't really exist. There was a lot of operational stuff going on in order to blackmail officials. And that's what the so-called child porn tapes are. So, the fact that she's saying, "Oh, I can't release that because it's all child porn," is, of course, she can't release it. But inside of those tapes is a lot of evidence that may reveal who Epstein blackmailed. And that person could include the man sitting to her left during that press conference, the president of the United States, who we
What do you
know
mean could? What do you mean could? It
could
does.
likely include.
It
I mean, we
is.
don't know if
He is in the Epstein files. We
yeah,
have
he is
seen
in.
his phone
I
number.
know he's in
We
there,
have
but the
seen his
tape,
name on flight logs. I
but
don't
the
know if there's a
tapes.
tape of him, but I'm telling you right now, for them to bury the tapes, it's not just him that has been caught with his pants
Yeah,
down at underage girls and other women and in sexually abusing positions. It's a bunch of his friends from around the world that he's currently trying to do business with. Now, when we sit and talk about that, we talk about the seriousness of that. There is only one way the free world wouldn't have a problem with Bill Barr and Donald Trump murdering Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, I said it. I believe he was murdered. And on top of it, no one would have a problem at the end of the day with Donald Trump taking one for the team, which I watched today. He got his ass kicked. And he was not only low energy and beaten and trying to obfuscate, and he didn't dismiss any of it. He didn't say anybody's lying. He didn't say, if anybody calls me a pedophile rapist or associates me with Epstein, like Elon Musk is publicly doing right now, I'm going to sue them. It would be the first thing he would do. Donald Trump hates people that tell the truth. Donald Trump hates people that chase these stories down and deliver these stories about him. Donald Trump is not only in the Epstein files, Donald Trump is suppressing the Epstein files because his name is in the Epstein files. We have seen it.
it is
Everybody's seen it. His phone
it,
number is in there, 14 different fucking phone numbers for Donald Trump. Now, there's a couple pictures with Epstein and some other world leaders floating around. There are hundreds of pictures of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. There are dozens of entries from the Lolita Express with Donald Trump. And there are 14 fucking phone numbers that Jeffrey Epstein could use to get a hold of him at any point in time. And magically the list disappears?
I
Come on.
I think I think this is a cover up. This is a
Yes.
massive
Thank
scandal.
you.
What's going on right now is Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Bongino are engaged in covering up for the president's past relationship with a known pedophile and Israeli and Russian agent. And, I've reported this, and I was the first to report it in a series called The Secret Life of Jeffrey Epstein, which I launched on, and I know this in great detail because I looked at all the episodes today, on 11th July 2019, just 5 days after Epstein was arrested. He died about 6 weeks into that series, and I did 6 episodes. And each of the episodes was more incredible in its revelation about who he is and what he was doing. I mean, we started off, and this wasn't just, curated reporting from different sources. This was sourced reporting with very high level sources, like Stephen Hoffenberg, who was, Epstein's close associate. He went to jail for Jeffrey Epstein's crimes for $150 million Ponzi scheme that they did together.
Mm-hmm.
And also Ari Ben Menashe, who I spoke to in Montreal, who revealed the extent of Epstein's involvement. And we know that Ari Ben Menashe was Robert Maxwell's handler. This is not just somebody. This is someone who is Israel's handler of Robert Maxwell. And he revealed what Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were doing. And in no uncertain terms, he said that Ghislaine and Epstein were involved in a blackmail scheme to blackmail officials in the United States in order to bend foreign policy towards Israel's and Russia's advantage. This is for them to say publicly that there is no evidence of blackmail and no evidence of him being an agent is insane. I mean, it's like they're living in another universe. They're not even here. I don't know where they're getting their information from. I'm going to air this Friday is the 6th anniversary of that first episode airing, and I'm going to air it at exactly the same hour on Friday night on Narrative right here, and I'm going to play each of those episodes, but I've double-checked everything now through AI. I've compared exactly what the facts were then to what the facts are that are known now, and it's even more accurate than we thought it was. It was the only accurate reporting of what Epstein was really doing. But key to it is his relationship with Donald Trump and how close they were as friends, as party boys in the 90s, you name it. They were involved in so much. The distance between Mar-a-Lago and Jeffrey Epstein's home in Palm Beach, 1.7 miles. That's how quickly you could get from one place to the other. You could walk over, really. They were more than just friends. I mean, especially with Ghislaine, they were out and about all the time. There are tons of photos, as you point out. But there's also transactions, actual property transactions involving Russian oligarchs.
Is that enough pictures? There's just on my computer screen right now.
Lots of pictures.
A couple dozen.
Yeah. And the reality of it is that Epstein and Trump bought Wexner's home in Palm Beach, and they had a bidding war over it, and ultimately Trump won and was paid for ultimately by the Russians, who gave him the money essentially to buy that home. So this nexus of Russian intelligence, Israeli intelligence, Epstein and Trump goes back so far. And it's so clearly the case. He keeps going on about how Russia is a hoax. It ain't hoax. It ain't a hoax. There is so much evidence to prove everything that we've been saying. And, time is a good way of proving things. Over 6 years, if something is wrong, we would have found out it's wrong. Nothing has been proven wrong in that 6-part series. And it involves a whole cast of characters, which some of you know really well. And so I'll start revealing those episodes, remastered, re-edited, and I'll do a special thing right after each episode, updating people on what's new about these episodes. Because it is an incredible abomination that the Trump White House is engaged in such a massive cover-up. This isn't just some minor
that everybody knows
scandal.
Is a cover-up too.
It's
not like half of us are going, maybe it's real. MAGA, his base, his QAnon MAGA base is like, you're covering it up. He lost Cat Turd yesterday. Gunther Egelman. He lost Libs of TikTok. He lost Alex Jones, who put out a video bawling his eyes out saying, I have principles. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have any principles.
He does not.
And everybody is so upset. All of his hardcore QAnon MAGAs, because they have made this Epstein list, which Donald Trump is on, central to the grift, central to their identities, central to their personalities, because they followed. Now, I want you to come with me on this one. They followed specifically 3 people down that, maybe 4, down that down that rabbit hole. One, Alex Jones. He's apoplectic today. The video in my post of him bawling is incredibly funny. Number two, we'll get to four. Number two, Kash Patel. He was a podcaster that all he talked about was unveiling all the Democrats and all the libtards that are on the Epstein list. It's not many.
No.
And then Pam Bondi, who took $1 million a year job to continue to rehash this, who actually ran cover for Jeffrey Epstein as the AG in Florida, if you remember that correctly. So, and then we've got Dan Bongino. Kash Patel's the head of the FBI, Dan Bongino, deputy head of the FBI. He was a fucking MAGA podcaster who made this the central theme of his show. If you don't vote for Donald Trump, if you don't send me money, so did Kash Patel. If you don't send me a Venmo, we're never going to get to the bottom of the Epstein list. These people, Pam Bondi, the U.S. Attorney General, Kash Patel, head of the FBI, Dan Bongino, deputy FBI, have completely abated all of their positions, are super fucking quiet, put out a letter. Donald Trump puts out a tweet. Really appreciate everything from Dan and Kash. Great job. Our country's safe with them. Minutes after the DOJ put out that letter saying that there was no Epstein list, there was no Epstein file. Donald Trump is
not an agent.
It's
not blackmailing people. It's just not true.
Fucking unbelievable. So what we have is the beginnings of the end of MAGA eating itself. I haven't even brought Elon Musk into the equation for this conversation yet. He's a fire hose of this right now. Mm-hmm. He's subtweeting. He's replying. He's dropping breadcrumbs. He said yesterday, someone told him, he goes, you need to offer an apology. He goes, apologize for what? I'll tell you what, I'll apologize when I get the full Epstein list dump. That's when I'll apologize. Like, he's not letting this go. And Donald Trump, there was a tell when he tried to prevent the reporter from asking the question, tried to prevent Pam Bondi from answering the question about where the Epstein list went. And he's like, this is a desecration. There's so many other things going on. There is a flood, and look at you. He didn't deny it.
We can't deny it because the evidence is everywhere. And the thing is, it's not only that the tapes exist in Washington, D.C., in the Department of Justice. They exist in the Kremlin, and they likely exist in Israel. So the Kremlin almost definitely has them. And if they at any point decides to release them, which is what, we're all seeing the sort of like the Laura Loomis, the Tucker Carlsons, all these people who are normally supportive of Russian positions are turning against Trump for this and demanding that Pam Bondi resign. I think that, what he's deathly worried about is not that there are leaks are going to come from inside his Department of Justice. That's probably locked up. But from Russia or from anywhere else, another intelligence agency that's trying to get at him, that's where the leak could come from. And that's unpredictable, and it's unknown, and it's something that he can't control because he knows it's true. He knows everything that he did with Epstein. I had talked to people during my investigation, which revealed that these guys were basically running the townhouse that Jeffrey Epstein had, people over, had all sorts of sexual things going on with these high-powered business people and these girls, and that they ran this thing together. This was an operation they pulled out together. Don't forget that Trump was owned the Miss Teen Universe contest, and that there was a lot of speculation at the time that was just, and that modeling agency, the Russian
modeling
modeling
agency. Just gloss over the fact that he owned Miss Teen USA, Miss USA, Miss Universe. Used to go into the rooms of Miss Teen USA to inspect the teenagers. Like there's no one more guilty. Oh yeah,
but of him and Ivanka and all these things. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that, there's a lot to hide there. He's been very successful in hiding it up until now. But this is now a cover-up. Now it's a scandal. Because up until now, it's been speculation and people on the outside saying a bunch of things. But now we have an active cover-up taking place in the White House. That is what they always say. It's never the crime, it's the cover-up that'll get you. Well, guess what? Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel walked into a cover-up today, and that is going to destroy this White House and the career that they have thought they've put together. So I am looking forward to re-airing all 6 episodes because they are... let me just, I put it through some AI always says nice things about you, but in this case it said this stuff is really prescient and, years ahead of what other people were reporting 6 years later. And I think there's still evidence in those reports that have not come to the surface. People are going to be blown away by what we report and how we report it. Because what it really does is it connects Epstein to this global conspiracy, this coalition of countries that attacked democracy in 2016 with Donald Trump. This is one big story. This is not a separate story. Epstein doesn't exist on one side and Trump just happens to be on the other side. Epstein and Trump are a continuation of the same narrative. And the very team that empowered Donald Trump to become elected in 2016 is the same team that empowered Jeffrey Epstein back in the 2000s or whatever, when he was doing all his stuff. It's the same group of intelligence agencies. It's the same group of people. It's the same exact plot line. So, people, I hope everyone
Makes you wonder
stays
how
on
many
the
of
story.
those people are in the files too, right? Or how many people
Yeah,
associated with them are in the
a
Epstein
lot.
files? Because Jeffrey didn't just go after people in America, sir. Just so you know.
But, my source, Stephen Hoffenberg, was very clear about what the intention was behind David Epstein. He told me, and Steve passed away last year, but I probably spoke to him more than anybody else. I must have had like 30 hours of interviews with him and met him on several occasions. He told me that the whole thing about Jeffrey Epstein, he was brought to America under this guise to basically disrupt the Clinton initiative to make peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And to large extent, and I have no proof that there's a connection here, but if you look at what happened with Monica Lewinsky, that is the sort of type of thing that Jeffrey Epstein and the Israelis were quite good at the time, and probably still are quite good at now, in terms of framing
honeypotting people.
Honeypotting people. That's the whole scandal. The whole scandal is about honeypots, right?
For sure.
Jeffrey Epstein and as Ari Ben Menashe told me, he said to me, sleeping with someone is not a crime. Sleeping with an underage girl, now that's a crime. And so that's why they did it. It's not that they had this fetish for underage girls. They wanted to get public officials committing crimes on tape so they could blackmail them to get better positions for Israel, better positions for Russia. And by the way, this is only just the tip of the crimes that they committed. There are so many more arms dealing crimes, and you name it, that he has that need to be exposed. And I've exposed them, but I'm going to go back and revisit this. Because what happened to me was right after I published that is I had this reputational assault by all these operational intelligence agencies that trashed my reputation, that they did a catch and kill on me with CNN. They did everything in their power to limit the distribution of that reporting because they were so upset about it. One of those episodes disappeared off YouTube. I can't explain why. It just disappeared off YouTube. I'm re-airing it though in this 6-episode run that I'm doing. Yeah, absolutely. Because this is personally, it was very annoying to be able to do this excellent work and then find out that the fact that you revealed all these things is now going to damage your career because these guys are going to take an absolute assault on the work that I did. I didn't bend in any way. I stand by that work. I think that work is still critically important, and there's so much more of it that needs to come out. And there's 30 hours of interviews with Hoffenberg and some with Ari Ben Menashe and a bunch of other sources. I know that I know it's Israeli intelligence because 2 sources went on the record with me to say it's Israeli intelligence. Steve Hoffenberg, who knew him intimately for 18 years and went to jail for him on his crimes, and Ari Ben Menashe, who was Robert Maxwell's boss for the Israeli Mossad. So these people are not like unknowns. They know what they're talking about. Now, they could both be lying to me, but they told me this disparately. They didn't know that I was doing that reporting at the time, but they both gave me that information. So, I challenge anyone to come up with anything that they say there's no evidence. There's plenty of evidence.
Yeah, tons. Not only is there plenty of evidence, the evidence that is painfully available, which every person that is burying the evidence, saying now the evidence doesn't exist, said they had their hands on the evidence. We're formatting the evidence. We're putting the evidence in through its paces, and they were going to bring the evidence out. And they handed some evidence to a bunch of right-wing podcasters in the White House. You remember that? The Libs of TikTok girl, Liz Wheeler, Jack Posobiec, all those fucking losers. Now they're just as angry as everybody else. Now they're like, what the fuck? Did we get sold a bill of goods? And that speaks to the ongoing assault on Donald Trump over what we know to be true, which is the fact that he's in the fucking Epstein files. Elon Musk currently is going off on Twitter on Donald Trump right now.
Oh, really?
He's retweeting other people's tweets. It's how he does it. A clip of Trump saying that we're not talking about Epstein anymore, the one we just talked about. To the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn, Pam Bondi said, that are never going to be released. Who are these videos with?
Mhm.
Like, that's
Yeah,
Elon
that's
just retweeted that. Then he retweeted something about if Ghislaine Maxwell, if there's no client list, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail?
mhm.
If there are no clients, why is she in jail? He hasn't stopped, and he's picking it up. And in our conversation on Monday, I do a weekend roundup with Lev. We talked about it, and he said that Trump is taking one for several powerful people at the moment. Trump is not only on the Epstein files, he's deathly afraid that Elon has it. He has no idea if he does. And he's panicking, screaming, shut it down in the White House because he can't stop it. He doesn't know who has it now because Elon Musk was so close to him and he was in these rooms that he has, absorbed some information somehow, absorbed it, whether through Doge or conversations or
Well,
he's
through
seen
the
something.
Russians. I mean, the Russians would have given it to him if anyone's given
Maybe.
it to him, and they
Maybe,
have all.
but the
Yeah,
bottom line is he has it.
yeah.
Apparently, he
Of course,
has
he
it.
has.
Lev said,
Yeah.
yeah, he's got it. And that's what he's deathly afraid of. So expect fireworks. And as much as I cannot stand both of these dorks, and I hope they both lose,
Oh, this is the reason that brings down Donald Trump. I will,
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it. I mean, this is the reason that should have disqualified him in the first place. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy has no place anywhere near the White House, and people know about this thing. People in New York knew about this story. I worked in that media world. They understood what was going on, and they still didn't reveal it because the Israeli presence in the media environment in New York is so overbearing that they don't let stuff like this get on the air. And when it does, people got fired for it repeatedly. So, this is so important that this comes out and people should stay on it. This is not something to dump in any way whatsoever.
Mainstream media has to fucking stay on this. We have to stay on this. You have
But,
to stay on this. Every MAGA has to stay on this. QAnon, who's upset, like I can't believe we're signing up with QAnon to get the fucking truth because they'll believe anything. But everybody has to push because there's one thing that is driving Donald Trump fucking insane. There's one thing that will force him to make a major fucking unforced error. And that's the Epstein list cover up. Watch and watch
error
and watch.
is the cover up. This attempt to whitewash this thing is a cover up. And just one last thing, just before we move into other stories here, this notion of the client list as per se as it being an actual list is a bit of a straw man. I've never really found anyone to say there's an actual list. There's lots of people they targeted, but there's not an actual list. There's phone numbers in a phone book, but there's not a list per se. There is an interesting client list about who he worked with financially that has never been fully revealed, and that involves all sorts of interesting world leaders and others. And that will probably never see the light of day because it involves so many serious people. And then the other thing about it is this notion that the suicide versus, no one knows for sure whether he committed suicide or was murdered. It sure looked to me like it was impossible that he committed suicide based on all the evidence that we could amass at the time. But there is no clear indication that he was murdered either. The best I could ever come up with was that they had allowed him to commit suicide by a certain time. My sources at the time were telling me that he was listing, and remember, this was as we were doing the series, so it was all happening in real time. I was talking to these people on a daily basis, and they were telling me, you know, you've got Jeffrey's busy spilling the beans right now. He's giving all the names to the Americans, and because of that, not only the names of the people who were involved, but the names of the whole plot, the whole blackmailing scheme, the whole everything from Ehud Barak to Bibi Netanyahu, you name it. And because he was giving away those names in exchange, by the way, to get a better sell, that was at the time was he was trying to get at. But he actually, in many ways, died. I'm not going to say he's died as a hero because that's definitely not what I would say. But he died trying to redeem his name by cooperating with the United States and revealing the extent of the scam.
I think he died a rat. If that's true, I mean, I don't put any respect on Jeffrey Epstein.
I don't have respect. Look, these guys are professional spies. They're not actually doing. The things that they're doing are awful, obviously, but they're doing it because they're being ordered to do it by their bosses. It's not really. As far as I know, he may not have even been straight. As far as I know, that's a whole other aside. But the the reality of this situation is that someone and Bill Barr did meet him just a few days before, may have indicated to him that maybe you got to go and you've got to take yourself out, or and that's about the only possibility that allows it for there to be both suicide and it being forced on him at the same time, because he was not in the mood at the time to commit suicide. He was revealing names and happy to cooperate. He wanted to cooperate. He wanted to reveal the extent of the plot. So that's the sourcing, as I recall, the
fucking coward. I mean,
Yeah.
they all are. They're all disgusting individuals and fucking cowards. So
They are.
If he killed himself or he was murdered, I believe he was murdered. I could care less. He's dead, and I'm happy. So there you go.
I am too, and that's simply because of the fact that he was committing treasonous crimes against America. I mean, it doesn't matter to me that he was ordered by Israeli defense intelligence to do these things. He was executing these crimes against America, and over the years, they've really subverted power in America. The Israelis have taken over such a large amount of influence over the White House through these efforts and through other type of deep state efforts, that they've actually, those operations were really harmful to America and remain harmful today in terms of our standing around the world, which actually brings us to the number 3 story. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu formally nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize during their White House dinner on Monday, presenting him with a copy of the nomination letter while Trump mediates ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas. Netanyahu surprised Trump with the gesture, citing his role in forging the Abraham Accords and current peace efforts, with Trump responding, "This I didn't know. Wow, coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful." I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. We can move on if you want.
I got one. Hitler was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for the same reason.
Was he?
Yeah. Early days when he was building his war machine, invading countries peacefully, just walking in because people were shitting their pants. He had people around him try to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. What is it with the fucking Nobel Peace Prize and dictators? Why do they all want one?
Because they all want something fancy to say that they're super great. They all want the award. They want the world
to legitimize their dictatorship.
Yeah. Something watch their dark souls with,
And to see, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's currently under investigation, there will be a criminal trial for fraud, criminality, bribery, all the good stuff.
War criminal.
Who has willingly murdered people.
Mm-hmm.
Whose wife has gone to fuck, who should be in jail. She's guilty of bribery and fraud too. Who's trying to outrun the law by staying in power. Who not only has ruthlessly murdered Gazans, he has ruthlessly murdered other people in the area, and turned it into a fucking show. And if you don't like it, you're anti-Semitic. He just handed a piece of paper, a nomination paper, across the table in that video that you're talking about, saying, "President Trump, I've nominated you for the Nobel Peace Prize." The guy he handed it to is currently beating the shit out of migrants, sending them to concentration camps in different countries. He's currently building a concentration camp in an alligator swamp, and if anybody tries to escape, they get eaten by alligators by design, or boa constrictors, or pythons, or whatever. He is covering up a pedophile rape ring. He just attacked Iran for fucking no reason other than Benjamin Netanyahu and Putin got him to do it. He routinely treats everybody around him, the people around him, the general public like shit. He's turning the United States into a fucking police state. He's stolen billions of dollars since he's gotten back into the office second time around. Those two guys are nominating each other for Nobel Peace Prizes. Just so you know, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Of course not. It doesn't matter. These guys are, they don't deserve anything close to that. They never will get anything like that. And the world knows what they're up to. But, the fact that these two murderers are basically, congratulating each other and nominating each other for peace efforts this weekend, I think Israel killed 60 Palestinians in Gaza. 60. That blood is on the hands of Bibi Netanyahu. It's the murder of people that shouldn't be murdered. I accept that, October 7th was a terrible, terrible, terrible event. But what is going on is unbelievable. And then this, did you catch the thing about the Iran, where Trump is like, oh, they called and said what time the missiles were coming in at 1 p.m. he's confirming basically that it's all theater, that it was
Mhm.
all just like one made up war, and that should make Americans very tired. And it's such a cynical thing to be launching wars to increase your popularity ratings or your approval ratings instead of worrying about the fact that people are actually suffering in your own country under many circumstances. So,
At your
well said.
hands. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Let's get into the next story, number 2. This is really, really interesting, and I put it in here. I know a lot of people aren't focused on it, but it's worth paying attention to. Real estate investors captured nearly 27% of all homes sold in the first quarter of 2025, marking the highest share in at least 5 years, as elevated mortgage rates around 7% and soaring median home prices of 406,100 pushed traditional buyers completely out of the market. Mom and pop investors who own 1 to 5 homes account for 85% of investor activity, while institutional players are actually retreating, selling more than buying. We are seeing this thing again, which happened in 2008, where people are getting priced out of their homes, becoming homeless, and these institutional investors and some of these mom and pop investors are busy buying up the inventory. And we are beginning to see, I think, the end of this age of ownership. And,
Mhm.
this is being spoken about a lot by these oligarchs in the company. This is an extension of if you're a king and you own your land, then none of the people in your country can have land that they own, that they have to rent from you, that they're all just temporary citizens subject to your approval. And it's a bit of an extension of that, but I think it's just an important fact for people to know that that's happening in the real estate market. It's going to cause a lot of people to be homeless, and a lot of people, these prices are going up because these investors are holding these properties for a long time, leaving the market, for homeless people, it's very, very hard to find housing to buy.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And let me just say this before we move on to story number 1.
Yeah.
Between, corporate investment into residential homes, Airbnb, VRBO, all of those, home sharing apps that we talk about, Canada is no different.
Yeah.
It is so difficult for young people to be able to afford a home. It's even harder for people to find rent appropriate housing now, even though there's a massive, vacancy bubble. The
Mm.
good news is if you're in Toronto, and I'm just speaking to my Canadian friends, the news is going to start coming out that the bubble is going to burst. So things are going to be more affordable across Canada because we're going to start building more homes. But to your point, greed, 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 more corporate greed. And if you get the
Yeah.
right people with enough money to buy enough homes, they will price certain demographics out so you can't afford one, so you can't rent from them. And then it turns into this feudal rental market, which
Mm.
is traditionally, what it is exactly the purpose behind what we're talking about, which is getting corporate investment into residential homes way the fuck out and letting people afford homes. Because
Yeah.
I've never in my life, I said to my son the other day, he's 25, he's thinking about getting married, and he's like, how am I going to afford a home? And I've never had to have that conversation with him, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't know. I do not know. So hopefully the bubble ends. I think if we can get the right people out of power and continue to promote the right people, continue to promote the right values. Mark Carney's doing something in Canada where he's going to build a ton of affordable homes.
Yeah, it's a
The
great
government
policy
is,
he's got.
yeah,
It's great
unbelievable
policy.
policy, and he's pissed
Yeah.
off every speculator and developer across the country, every premier that's in bed with their donor, speculator, developer, real estate groups, and he doesn't give a shit. He's like,
Prefab homes too.
yeah, yeah.
Prefab. It's a
Oh
very
no,
good
we're
idea.
gonna the great prefab homes. We're gonna build them across Canada. Fuck you. We're gonna make this
Yeah.
a country affordable. We're gonna turn Canada into what Canada should be, which is a land of promise. So,
Mm.
but America built on greed, built on selfishness, built on that pig economy, which we talk about, the pig consumer economy, and with that wealth gap in America being it's way wider than it is in Canada. Like it's way wider.
Yeah.
I hope that America gets leadership like Mark Carney at some point in time to start pulling those triggers and making those decisions.
There are a couple of really important court cases right now underway as the Department of Justice investigates a couple of these platforms that price all these rental units and basically force and housing units that are for sale. They use an algorithm to create the pricing structure for across every market. So it's no longer just an individual buyer or seller setting the price for their property. It's an algorithm that sets that price. And so if you're under a certain, income level, you're not going to get a house, even though there are tons of apartments available.
Yeah.
That price is not going down. The median price is not going down because they basically rig it. They price fix it It's illegal, and hopefully the Department of Justice is able to corner some of these algorithms, AI algorithm companies, and take away that effort that they're putting on. And finally, the Trump number one story on the show today: Trump sent nearly identical tariff ultimatum letters to 14 countries. I can't believe this. I read this on your blog, and I was like, "No ways!" They cut and paste the whole thing. It's like I just. It's so lame. Do they use AI? Like maybe they just like, send me different versions of this
If
thing.
they used AI, it wouldn't have. And I counted. There were a couple of teachers that actually checked it for grammar and spelling. 64 different grammatical spelling errors.
Oh my god, they didn't even check it through AI. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Capitals where they shouldn't be, all caps where they shouldn't be, no commas, bad periods, hyphens. Like it just was a fucking disaster. Yeah, these letters. Can we just stop for a second?
Yeah, please.
He sent 14 letters. He sent them to Japan because he's like, I'm going to give you. We read it. I read this yesterday.
You read this yesterday, but I can read it again. I mean, it was very funny yesterday. And
oh my god, I can't and keep in mind, like he just copy and pasted, changed the name of the president of whatever country he was tariffing, whether it be Laos, Myanmar, Kazakhstan, which he did for Putin. South Korea. South Korea is like, the fuck is going on? And Trump was Japan. They responded with, "You got to be kidding." He sent us this letter. Like, you think this is a deal? You think this is a binding fucking trade agreement? Looks like it was written by a pissed off fourth grader trying to look cool. Like,
that's what he said today, right? He said that that the letter was a deal. That he was like just declaring it a deal. Like that's how much it's going to be.
Yeah.
A deal actually involves the other person agreeing to what you're saying. These countries are just going to laugh at America and then divest themselves of the US dollar because they hold bucket loads of the stuff. And, it's just awful. It's just, but it is very funny. I can't believe there's so-called intensive negotiations with every country in the world. They're back and forth with 200 countries. They're going to get deals done. No problem. No deals. None except for Vietnam. Maybe a deal. I don't know. Maybe.
No, there's no deal with Vietnam. Like, okay, he has, let me explain. He said he'd do 90 deals in 90 days. Yeah. We're at like 97 days or something. He still has no deals. He's got an agreement to give Land Rover access to the American market for nothing. That was with the UK. The Vietnam deal is just a 25% tariff, which if you buy anything in America from Vietnam, you're going to pay 25% extra for. So that's just taxing everybody else. It's just fucking ridiculous. And the China deal is an agreement to explore a deal. He's got no deals. There's nothing. There's zero.
Yeah.
And I talked with someone in Carney's Orbit yesterday about this because I put this post out that detailed the letter where he's like, "Dear Mr. Japan, President of Japan, and dear Your Excellency, President of Republic of Korea." Then he said, "Dear Mr. President," to, I believe, a woman that runs a country. Like, he's like, it was truly unbelievable. And it plays like it goes back and forth between like an extortion letter and like, "We're friends though, right?" And then another extortion letter. "It's a great honor," he says, "for me to send you this relationship. Demonstrates the strength of commitment for a trading relationship. In fact, the United States and America has agreed to continue working with Korea despite a significant trade deficit with your country. Nevertheless, we've decided to move forward with you. Welcome. You can do business with us. All it's going to cost you is 25% on fucking everything." And by the way, this is where the extortion, now the threat. Yeah. And by the way, and if you tariff us, if you do any countermeasures, we'll add those countermeasures to your tariff and we'll double it. So suck it. Look forward to hearing from you. He says these are deals. South Korea, the new president of South Korea is like, the guy's crazy. The president of Japan was like, I can't even fucking comment on this. It's so stupid and insane. He's not even responding to it. Someone in Carney's Orbit, I asked him, I'm like, what do you make of this? He phones me. He goes, "How about those letters, huh?" And I'm like, it's truly unbelievable. He goes, "Copy and paste." He goes, and you know what he said? And he goes, and it was reiterated by a Japanese trade emissary. He's like, "The only thing we can think of is that there is no one around him. He's got such short-staffed trade people in the White House. He's so insulated. He refuses to allow anybody to do any of this other than himself. that he did this himself.
You think he actually did
That he
this himself?
cobbled this. The Japanese trade folks said, yeah, that we believe that. The guy in Carney's orbit, he's like, it's probably true. Like he probably doesn't have enough help because it is legitimately like a Truth Social tweet on steroids and dementia. Like, and then just cut and pasted and sent to 14 different world leaders.
Because I'm reading it now. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's absolutely looks like something he would write. I mean, there's no grammar rules at all that he seems to follow here. It's like, it is a great honor, capital G, capital H. Like, what the hell is that? Why is that capitalized?
Yeah. And if you notice too, he tariffed, like he sent these letters to like countries who they don't really trade with the United States. Japan does, which is the biggest shocker to me. South Korea and Japan are major investors in the United States. Japan is the number one investor in the United States. Trillions and trillions of dollars they invest and pump into the United States. They also hold 1.6 or 1.8 trillion in American Treasury bills. So they hold the biggest debt holder of American debt in the world.
Yeah.
And the president of the prime minister of Japan, Ishiba, I think is his name. Let me Shigeru Ishiba, Prime Minister Ishiba was like, "Hey, we invest more in the United States than anybody else, and we hold a lot of debt. We just want to remind everybody about that." And that's how stupid this guy is. That's how fucking dumb he is. He just threatened the largest debt holder. Do you know what Japan could do to the United States of America if they decided to sell off Treasury bills?
Yeah, that kill. Well, he said it today in the cabinet meeting. He said that if anyone, if the president tries to kill the dollar, and he said, I won't do it, not under this team, but he was talking about the BRICS nations. He said anyone who does that is really going to destroy the country. So he's certainly aware that destroying the dollar can destroy the country. Meanwhile, under his administration, we've lost 10% of its value, and he's playing these games, extortion rackets against the biggest debt holders, the biggest T-bill holders in the world. It's outrageous.
Yeah, let me just like layman this for everybody because I love analogies that bring it right down to, language language here can easily understand. In the words of Corey Glover from Living Color. I want to talk right down to earth. I think that was Malcolm X, actually. In language that everybody here can easily understand. If I owed Zev $100,000 over the course of 20 years, and Zev just kept being nice to me because I did things for Zev. I helped Zev. He didn't want to lose that relationship, right?
Of course.
And then one day I just said, hey, Zev, fuck you. You need to pay me $250 every time we do this. And you're like, wait a second, you owe me $100,000. Yeah. But I'm sending you this strongly worded letter that says, fuck you. You've been treating me poorly for years. And you're like, what? I didn't know that. I thought we were great podcast pals. You've been treating me poorly for years. This relationship's lopsided. And you're like, what? Where's the metric for the lopsided for the relationship?
Metric.
And then I said to you, by the way, I don't owe you $100,000 anymore, and you got to give me $250.
Yeah.
Every single show.
Welcome to the show.
You would run over to my house and punch me in the face, or you would never talk to me again.
Yeah,
or you would think I was insane.
I would think you're insane. It's exactly what you would think if someone like that. I mean, they do think he's insane. The bottom line is they do think he's insane. We have a insane person running the United States. And as you point out repeatedly, with someone with dementia and other mental instabilities, it's funny and it's terrifying. Because the reality of it is, if they do start selling those T-bills, and if the dollar sinks even further, I mean, it's been somewhat resilient considering all the shock it's been through in the last 6 months, but losing 10% of its value is a lot. Continuing to lose that over time is going to be a lot. He's making shit up all the time about factories coming to the United States. He's just inventing facts that are not true.
He was on his whale murder windmill shit again today. He was saying China doesn't have solar power or windmills. They have the most of anybody in the whole world.
They're the world's leaders in clean energy. What is he talking about? And America should be trying to compete with that, not the other way around. So, it is, it's funny until it's like, well, it's your dollar. It's your dollar that you buy your homes and you buy your groceries and you buy your cars with and you pay for your kids' education. That is what is being eroded in the world stage. And it's because of Donald Trump that the world is now looking at the US dollar as unsafe and is preferring the other currencies of China and India and other countries because
Canada
they're considered safer. Yeah, Canada's got a very safe currency.
Yeah.
It's all gold backed. it's remarkable that this is what this American president, who, by the way, just to catch everyone from the earlier in the show, was associating in partnership in something with a known pedophile spy from Israel who was conducting blackmail operations against America, in order to hurt America's interests. That same guy is also, trying to tank the US dollar, which sort of, brings it full circle in some ways.
Sure does. Heads on a swivel, America. We're with you. You got to laugh at the stuff you can laugh at, like the cut and paste comedy. You got to laugh at the dementia. You got to laugh at the mental decline, because if you don't, you will just take all the terrifying stuff and internalize it. He is a loser. He is
Yeah.
going to lose. He is cooking himself.
Yeah.
And the meltdown that I saw today, the mental decline that I saw today, everybody should be laughing at. You have to watch it. Go to deanblundell.substack.com, 35% off annual memberships for life when you go there today for the month of July. But I want you to watch every single one of those videos, and I want you to see the mental decline.
Yeah.
I want you to see
And
the
the
physical
shame
decline
and
and
the
the
guilt.
shame and the guilt, and I
Yeah.
want you to hear the stumbling and all the da 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 da. But check it out today and be encouraged. Your dotard president doesn't look like he's long for this world.
No, he doesn't. And look around that table and look at all the faces and all
Oh
the
my
expressions,
God.
because no one is happy to be there. You can also check out on narrative.org. I'll put up a little report after this about the Epstein stories that we're going to be revealing again on Friday, but just breaking down beat for beat why the Justice Department memo is just bullshit. And on Friday, we'll start airing the full 6 episodes of the first batch of The Secret Life of Jeffrey Epstein. So that's coming up this Friday on narrative.org.
Very excited.
It is very exciting. That is the FiveStack for today. Nice to see you, Dean. I'll see you
Good
again
to see
tomorrow.
you too, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.